It's another Saturday. It's Paul Toby here from Jazz Mental. Thanks for joining me for another one of our Saturday live streams. Great to see everyone in the chat area. We call those people who turn up week to week deeply committed. If you're new here, we communicate in the chat area. If you could leave your name and put the words new, hey, I'm new here, we would like to say hi to you as well. I'll talk to a few of you in just a few moments. Let's set the agenda for today. We're going to be talking about the Cole Porter classic, I Get a Kick Out of You. I actually just went to see the musical the other day, so I was inspired to pick up this tune again and see what we can do with it. It's an interesting musical, Anything Goes. I saw it at the Shaw Festival here in Niagara-on-the-Lake, and it was excellent. I would give it probably 7.5. 8 stars. I'm the worst critic when it comes to anything to do with musicals or theater or presentations, whatever, because it's hard for me to sit through an entire performance and not hear any jazz. But anyway, we're going to take the tune I Get a Kick Out of You and see what we can do with it. There is definitely some forbidden harmony in here that I'm going to share with you in some sheet music. We're going to talk about it in detail. So the plan is for me to play a little bit of it. I'm going to put the sheet music link up in the chat in just a moment, and you can go and download that. I know some of you like the most recent presentations where you could just click the link and the music appears. This time we're going to require an email address. There's several reasons for that, not the least of which is it allows me to communicate with you a lot better, and it definitely helps us get some new people into the mailing list so we can communicate that way. So we're going to revert back to you have to share an email address in order to get the download. I appreciate that. There's, like I said, a bunch of reasons for that. Then I'm going to play the tune. We're going to discuss the sheet music that I'm about to share with you, which is definitely, let me throw it up on the screen right now. So what I've done is I've reharmonized I Get a Kick Out of You with definitely some forbidden harmony. There's some interesting things. Most of it would be lead sheet format, but I've definitely put in some advanced chord symbols, but I've also written out left hand, right hand together in the areas that I wanted to talk about. So it's definitely worth downloading. Let me put that sheet music in the chat area right now and pin it to the top of the chat so you can go and download it. Let's do a quick sound check while we're doing that so you can let me know if you can hear my voice okay and if the piano sounds good. I tuned it yesterday because, of course, the weather has changed here in Canada. Heat's coming on, so it makes everything go out of tune. So hopefully we'll have a nice session today. And with a tuned piano, it's mostly always tuned, but sometimes I just have to sit down and take a couple hours and basically fine tune everything. So that's what I've done. Also, at the end of today's presentation, I'm going to reveal one of my favorite 5/7 voicings of all time. It's an interesting voicing. It's definitely part of today's presentation. I'm wondering if you can pick it out while we're going through this. Thanks, Rich, for the feedback on the sound. I appreciate that. All right, let's dive right into it, and I'll play the tune, I Get a Kick Out of You. I'm going to play it probably swing. Haven't had a tremendous chance to work on this, so we'll see what comes out, and then we'll have a good time talking about it. I will say hi to a few of you. I mean, obviously, the deeply committed people who are here week to week. I definitely want to give a shout out to all of you, but I'll talk about that when everybody joins the chat during the presentation, and we'll do it at that time. So go grab the sheet music while I play, and we'll see you in just a few minutes. All right, a little I get a kick out of you. I don't know if you know this about this tune, but it's actually not the easiest tune to remember because there's so many different ways of playing the melody. The chord changes remain pretty much the same, and what I try to do is to add some nice richness and, of course, complexity to the tune to make it sound a little bit nicer than it normally does. When I was listening to it at the performance of Anything Goes the other day at the Shaw Festival, I noticed that, of course, it's all straight eights, done very much operatic style, which may have been the original intention from Cole Porter, but I personally like this tune as a swing, as popularized by none other than Frank Sinatra. So if you haven't heard the Frank Sinatra version, just grab YouTube and go have a listen to that. Let's just say a quick shout out to a few of you in the chat area. Of course, there's what we call our deeply committed people that are here week to week. I really appreciate you, and you know that I do. So Amodi and Rich and Steve, Shell, Friedrich, Alan, Keith, Allison, Martin, Lee, Amadeo from Italy. I'm not sure. Terry, David, Dave, Jerry. Yeah, nice to see all of you. If I've missed some of you, that's just because it's really small and really hard to read. A couple of comments already. Just give me 1 second. I've kind of lost my chat just disappeared, so I have to go to the actual window. Okay, so Dave says, out of you had a nice descending chords. Yeah. Everywhere you definitely took a turn with some surprising voicings. Yeah, that's what we call the forbidden voicings. I know that they shouldn't work, but they actually do. I know you modulated a little and did a key change. Not sure if I swallowed it. Yeah. Thanks for the comment. Alan says, would you take a few moments to explain the beautiful intro to your performance? Okay, I will do that. Maybe we'll start there and then we'll dive into the sheet music. Let me know if you were able to download the sheet music. I would appreciate that. I know that I tested it this morning to make sure that the sheet music was available and that it gets sent out properly. And so if you could help me out with that, that would be great. All right, let's start in with the sheet music. I'll throw it up on the screen. And wherever possible, if we need to, we'll make some screenshots. But you can see, just like a lot of jazz standards, this one, and thanks, Keith, for letting me know you got the chart. I appreciate that. This one starts on 2 minor, which, like I said, is very typical for a lot of jazz standards. So what I like to do, even if it starts on 1, is I like to throw down what's called a pedal note on 5. So if we're in the key of E flat, if you go to 5 and you play a 7th chord, and this is just a straight B flat 7, flat 9 chord, what I like to do is just kind of pedal it in time to, and in my head I'm counting, right? 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then throw down the pedal. and then play the first chord. Now, everyone is expecting the first chord to be F minor, and this is where the forbidden harmony comes in. So I'll explain that in just a moment. But just to recap the introduction, it's really about a pedal note, and you can play any notes from the scale you want. You can play them in fourths, you can play them in clusters, you can play whatever, basically alternating between F minor and B flat 7. And you don't need to necessarily play chords. You can actually play little improvisational melodies if you want to, like this. And you could play fifths in the bass if you want to. Okay. So that B flat pedal becomes very important to introductions if you want to set time. Now, if we were playing at rubato, I probably wouldn't do that. I would just start in with the tune like this. Okay. So those B flat pedals in time, or those 5/7 pedals in time, are, like I said, typically for when you want to set tempo or swing. In this case, it's pretty medium, slow tempo swing, which is kind of nice for this tune because there's a lot going on for sure. Then what I want to do next is just focus on this forbidden harmony that really shouldn't exist, but it does. And so I think you all remember, maybe I'll ask you this question. When reharmonizing a melody, what is the most important thing? See if you can remember that from previous sessions. Because when you're choosing your chord voicings, this is the first consideration. Please let me know what you think it is while I take a screenshot of this so that I can write on the screen. And as I wait for a response from you on that particular question, because you know, YouTube delays from the time I talk to the time you respond, it's delayed by about 20, sometimes more than 20 seconds. So I'll wait to see if anybody's got an answer for that. And the question was, again, when reharmonizing the melody, what's the first consideration? What's the ultra important fact that you must consider when reharmonizing? I'll wait another 10 seconds. I haven't got an answer. Not yet. Maybe it's because you're thinking or because the delay is too long. I'm not sure. Do you remember last week when the power went out? Hopefully that doesn't happen again this week, but if it does, make sure you stick around. It usually takes me 5 to 8 minutes to reboot everything and come back with the internet strong. So if that happens again this week, and it's been happening a lot here in Niagara-on-the-Lake, not sure what the reason for that is, but anyway. So Alan's got an answer. Would the answer be tonicizing a target chord? That's a good consideration, and it is definitely part of the formula, but it's not the most important. Yes, Keith's got the answer. Keep the melody note in the voicing. There's very good reasons for that, of course, because the reharmonization, Keith and everyone else, will be far more powerful if people recognize the melody. If they can't recognize the melody, then the reharmonization is not nearly as effective as it could be, because what the listener will do is they'll compare the reharm to the melody that they recognize. So there's always this give and take when you're reharmonizing to make sure that it's not too far out that it just sounds like everyday jazz. You want to make it sound like the tune that they recognize. So yes, that's the most important thing. Thank you for that answer. Lee says maintaining the harmonic rhythm. Also important, not the first thing. We've just ascertained that it's melody, but I appreciate the comment. Thank you. So let's take a look at it then. And what I've done is I've put F minor 7 and B flat 7 as the first two bars. The melody is this. It's just part of the E flat major scale. Just starts on C. So that we have to keep intact. So then when I reharmonize, you get this. And we'll talk about that in just a second, but the actual chord changes are F minor to B flat 7 to E flat. So the harmony that I want to introduce to you is, and we've discussed this in other sessions, where instead of starting on 2 or 1, we start on flat 5. So in this case, it kind of tricks the ear into thinking, okay, where is this going? Because it doesn't start in the normal place. So the difference between this chord, F minor, and this chord, A flat half diminished 7, is this one absolutely needs to be resolved. This one does not. You could stay on F minor all day long. Play it in fourths, play it in thirds. Do anything you want to it. It doesn't need to go anywhere. And that's the beauty of flat 5, is you can now use an A half diminished 7th chord, which absolutely needs to be resolved. Listen, that's got to go somewhere. That can't stay there. So that's why it's forbidden, because most people would be like, oh, melody makes more sense as an F minor chord, but I think flat 5 is a beautiful addition. So I literally plunk down the bass note, then play the chord after. So this is just an A half diminished 7th chord, just in second inversion. So here's root position, first inversion, second inversion. So that's all we've done here. Okay? And then the next chord, and I think what's important about this sequence is when you reharmonize, oops, I gotta erase that. Hard to work with this pen sometimes. What I've done here is when you're taking this sequence here from the A half diminished 7th through to this destination chord, that's E flat. So never forget that that's where we're headed. That's supposed to be a D. Destination. And you have to consider we're starting here, but we have to get here. So one of the things I like to do is just go down in half steps. And so A half diminished 7th to D7, but use the tritone substitution, which is A flat 7 sharp 11. Listen to that. Still needs to be resolved. Some resolution, and then a 2-5 of E flat. Now you could go F minor to E major 7th. It's a matter of personal preference. So let's do it with the E major 7th going to E flat. I prefer this. B flat 7, flat 9, I'm talking right here. This flat 9, because it creates this sort of like minor second in the middle, right? And then if that weren't enough, people hang out on this E flat all day long. You and I both know that if you stay on E flat for 2 bars in any performance situation, it shows that you don't have enough harmonic knowledge to know what to do with that. And it's just boring to do that. Let's try it just staying on E flat. After all of this, to just stay in E flat. I mean, you can create some interest, but it's not enough. What you need to do is create some leading tones and some chord progressions from the cycle of fifths. So this is a pretty standard, getting back to 2 minor 7 here. This is a pretty standard progression. You got 1, flat 4, 3, 6. And that leads you to F minor. So 1, flat 4. You can play this as a major 7 if you wanted to, but I like A flat 7 with, you know, like a sharp 11 or whatever. And then a 2-5 of F minor, which is G half diminished 7th to C 7 flat 9 to F minor. Okay. Now, you don't need to play G half diminished 7th. You can play G minor 7th. It's a little more tonal versus this. It's a little darker, right? Okay. Let's play the whole sequence again as written with the chords that are on their screen. I'm going to delete my notes here, or just erase them, just so you can see it a little bit clearer. So let's do it with the introduction. So B flat pedal, and then alternate between F minor and B flat 7. You see how effective that is? Because if you just always played, take a look at this. There's such repetitiveness here. I need just to make sure. Okay, you can only see the first 3 lines. That's fine. But you can see F minor 7, B flat 7, F minor 7, B flat 7, F minor 7, B flat 7, F minor 7, B flat 7. I mean, basically, Cole Porter, all he's done is just repeat everything. And then there's just a 2-5 getting back to F. So this is like G to C, G to C. E flat could be G to C. You get the idea. It's the same sort of idea throughout the entire thing. So you have to, as a piano player, literally make some interest out of nothing. Because if you just repeat the same chords for F minor 7, B flat 7, G minor 7, or G half diminished 7 to C7, it's not going to be good. So you need to create this interest. Do you see how that turnaround from E flat so instead of G minor 7 here, play it with a sharp 5 if you can. Oh, there's an interesting opportunity right here. So this is an E flat. Not a chord, just the E flat note. So I'm just going to erase that because I don't want anybody to be confused. But that's actually E flat. But what I like to do is I like to turn that into an E natural because it sounds like this. Nobody's going to know the difference. Now, if you're working with a singer and you play an E natural and the singer's doing an E flat, bad idea. But because you're alone and with the band and you're up, you're the person who's got the melody, you can do whatever you want. I played some inner voices here, starting on E. Let's just write them in. I'll write them in the bass line. So E to E flat to D flat. Just make some harmonic interest with inner voices. Kind of fun. Let's check back in the chat, see how you're all doing, if you're grasping a lot of these concepts or if you have any questions. Modi says, makes sense. How to make interest out of nothing. I'll take 2 pounds of that to go, please. Good comment. Martin, you'll get a funny side eye from the singer. Oh, not funny at all. It'll be more like, you don't want to mess with singers. In fact, if I was working with a singer, I wouldn't be playing melody at all. So it doesn't matter what she's singing. It's not going to clash because, I mean, obviously you got to play chords that make sense, and you just can't be too far out. But if you play melody, you run the risk of clashing with rhythmically and harmonically with what they're doing. So yeah, be careful. All right. Let's scroll down a little bit because there's another area of this that I want to get to. I'm going to take a new screenshot. Scroll down a bit. I think that will be a good representation. Just a reminder to stick around to the end for a couple of things. I have a brand new blues bossa or blue bossa transcription from last Saturday's masterclass. I listened to it myself several times before sending it off to PJ, the transcriber. A couple of people had said that during the presentation and after I finished playing the second time in last week's masterclass, some of you mentioned that it was transcription worthy. So I listened to it myself just to make sure. And in my absolutely humble opinion, it's some of the best playing I've ever done live. Solo piano. I mean, obviously, playing with bands is a different situation. But if you're looking for a solo piano transcription of blues bossa or blue bossa that will turn you on your head for a while, and lots to study in there. I listened to it intently several times just to make sure, and I just believe it's, like I said, some of my best work. And if you want to support us here at Jazz Mental, I'll send you a link. If you look at the last page of your transcription, there's a landing page on the third page of your transcription, talks about it. It's absolutely ready to go. For those of you that pre-purchased it, which was several of you, I was so surprised. Thank you for funding it. It's ready to go. So I'll talk about it a little bit later on and give you a coupon code so that you can go and check that out and support the channel. All right, let's go to B section, where in this particular case, because we started on flat 5 the first time, in this case, we're going to just start on 2. But make it interesting. Like, there's a lot you can do with this. Like, I mean, when you're doing things with melody, you don't always have to, you can use 6 diminished scale, things like that, or you can use 4s, whatever you want, but just make it interesting. You could even do it like this. Now here's where it gets interesting. It's got like 5 bars. If I I just need to make sure you're actually seeing this. Yeah, you are. That's good. Right from here, all the way through to here, to this D flat 7 sharp 11 chord, it's all syncopation. So you've got half note triplets. And it's really nice if you play them even just with a melody note. It's okay, but it's kind of boring. So what I like to do is just sort of play like block chord ideas like this. Okay. But specifically, take a look at this bar. So we're going to focus here to here. Okay. Now, take a look at the melody. It's B flat to A natural to A flat. So we're going from F minor to B flat 7. Now this could be G as well, but I've changed it to D flat 7 sharp 11. So the melody over B flat is this. So what I've done here is I've went, okay, we're going to make the last chord the actual chord from the bar. So dark. I can't see. What did I do with my pen? Oh, there it is. So we're going to make this chord the B flat 7 sharp 11 chord. And then because the melody is going down in minor seconds, you can do this. Play the same chord, B flat 7 sharp 11, right? Sharp 11. Just go up in half steps. And that's the type of playing that when people hear it, their ear goes, that's new. That's something that may or may not be specifically forbidden, but it makes sense harmonically in the context of minor seconds or semitones descending. So just take the same chord and just move it, right? So let's play it in the context of the whole line from bar. Well, actually, let's go from the beginning of the bridge. It's not the bridge, sorry, from B section. Here we go. How fun. You can even make a big deal out of that by even stretching it out, like, because you're solo piano, you don't have a band, and even if you did have a band, you could still play over the bar line. So maybe something like this. Huge exaggeration, but you get the idea, right? Just like, okay. Rich says, loved the flat nines, locked hands, clusters, tritone subs, inner voices moving, all great. Thank you. I think all of those ideas are great ideas for sure. I encourage anyone here, and you know me by now, at least the people that are here week to week, you know that I'm always looking for that little sort of extra dissonance we can throw into it. This is pretty dissonant. And that's what makes it great, because then you can sort of like delay the resolve. Keep going. Now resolve. Okay? So it's all about stretching out the dissonance and delaying the resolution. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to talk about in this tune, there's one more, which I may or may not have written out, but I did play it, which I think is important. Well, you know what? I'm going to delay that just for a sec. Let's go to the bridge, because I wanted to share something with you on the bridge first. Take a look at the first 8 bars of the bridge. In the lead sheet itself, if you actually go to the real book, I don't think it's real book 1. I think it's like real book 2 or something like that. Maybe even 3. But if you look at the transcription and the lead sheet in the real book, you're going to get B flat for like 6 bars. It goes all the way from here. So let's consider this bar 1 all the way to bar 6. And it's just B flat. It doesn't even change. So we have to make some interest out of that. But the problem is that if you start over reharmonization, you don't get a break from all of this, right? There's a lot going on there. So if you continue that and you try to reharmonize this, like if you tried maybe it gets too far away from what it was intended to do. So sometimes the easiest thing to do is just put in a line cliche, which I like. If you look at B flat minor, first bar, and there's a little plus sign in the next one, that means take the 5 and make it sharp, and then it goes to 6 and back to sharp 5. Now we've done this before as line cliches, because we all know that this is like the James Bond approach to minor chords. Right? What we need to do is just apply that wherever we can to a section that is all the same minor chord. So it sounds like this. And the left hand is comping at the same time. So we've come out of a lot of like chords with bass. Now we're going to just make it really, really quiet and go into the bridge just playing comping in the left hand. I've changed this to an E flat major 7 chord. Take a look at it. It's an F major chord over E flat. And then a G7 plus chord back down to C7. And then it gets to F major. I think this is really, I'm not sure why he did this, but to switch to F major here doesn't make a lot of harmonic sense. Now, I totally get that he's probably looking for ways to trip up the singers in the ensemble, but at the end of the day, I think it's a little bit out of context. I would not have done that. I would have maybe gone to a completely different, like like maybe to G flat or something like that, but certainly not F major. But he did it, and we have to stick with it because the melody is in F major, right? If I think I would change this in the sheet music, folks. This isn't A natural. Apologize for that. So what I do here is, and I hope that made sense. I just need to write it in here. This is all line cliche. But when we get to this F major, which is kind of out of place, I like to use what's called the 6th diminished scale. So play a drop 2 voicing on F, right? This is just F major with the 4th because it's part of the scale. Sorry, E natural. So then what you do is you just start here and then play a couple of F chords. And then when you get to this note, play a C7 flat 9. Then another C7 flat 9. You hear how that works? So let's play that in its entirety. Hear how that sounds? Slower. Sorry, E natural. Now, you could probably do something with this last chord and make it like a D7 sharp 11 chord. Or no, D7, nah, I wouldn't do it. Doesn't make sense. Maybe there, maybe here. Maybe A flat. So an F major chord over an A flat 7. So one more time. Kind of works, right? Okay. So 6 diminished scale works there. Also definitely something that most pianists wouldn't do, but hey, we are not most pianists. We are in the know. And then let's skip to the last section, which I think is really, really interesting. What he has done with the melody in the same amount of bars. So it's basically an A, B, C, D tune, but A, B, and D are very similar. They start off the same, right? But that's when it ends. Basically, the first 4 bars is all that's the same, and then everything else changes after that. So it's really A, B, C, D. Let's throw up a screen snip on this one. So D section starts off the same, but then again, he's using these triplets and syncopation starting here all the way to here. So instead of 5 bars, now it's 6 bars. So he loves this idea of 3/4. So then the melody's like this. I like to start the last D section the same as we started the A section. Now here's where it changes, right? It actually resolves here. Instead of going to G minor, it goes to E flat. And then it goes to C minor, which is kind of fun, right? So if you're going to go to C minor, it's D half diminished 7th to G7 flat 9 here, which makes a nice minor 2/5. You could use D flat if you wanted to. And this is where it gets interesting. This is where block chords really stands out, because you don't want to do too much reharmonization here. Just keep the same chord. This chord, A flat 7. Right? It's a semitone above G. Okay, let's play it from the top of D section. Again, don't mean to get too carried away with other ideas, but the main context of what we're talking about in its entirety, and I hope you grasp this from today, and if this is the only thing you take away from it, it's in repetitive tunes like this where you've got, even though he's thrown in half note triplets and whatever in the melody, he's changed the melody, he's kept the chord symbols the same. You cannot do this. This is not something that we as jazz pianists would even think about doing, which is keeping the original harmony. That's harmony that was built for singers. We like harmony that's built for piano ears, and that is far more interesting if you dive into it and really structure it properly. Is it forbidden to do this? No. Is it common? Absolutely not. And that's what makes you stand out as a player, is finding these intricate ways of moving chord progressions that just sound great but don't make a lot of tonal sense, which is, I think, really the point. I mean, it makes sense in the fact that you're going down in minor seconds and you're resolving and you're doing all of these things, but it does make sense to the ear at the end of the day. But also the ear is flipped a little bit. Do you ever hear that chord progression that just, you go, wow, that just sounded to my ears to be something new? And that's what's really important about jazz. So I hope you're getting that from today's session. Let's check back in on the chat and see how we're doing. I'll take this off your screen. In bar 30, you altered the B flat. What was that, please? Okay, let's put the sheet music back. Bar 30. Okay, so it's coming out of the second A section and leading into the bridge. So from bar 26, I guess, 25. Oh, yeah. Now I know what he's asking. So I altered this B flat 7 chord. I don't have anything to write with, because that's not a screenshot. This is, in just a second. This chord is what he's asking about. So he said I altered it somehow. It's not actually an altered chord. What it is it's the melody notes surrounded by octaves, like this. And then in the right hand, you're playing B flat, G. It's a little small, and I can't make it bigger at this point, so let's just go with it. B flat, G, F. You got clusters in the middle. We talked about these last week. And then A flat as well, or sorry, E flat. So those are the three different notes, right? Like this, right in the middle. And then up against the bass note, you're going to put the flat 9. So you're also going to have a B natural right up against this note, which is B flat. So surrounded by octaves, you get this sound. Listen to that. So basically it's a E flat chord, E flat major chord with a ninth, but then you're changing it to B flat 7 by just putting in a flat 9. What makes this sound good is this. Harsh, better, even better if you duplicate the melody. So one more time. Lovely. I hope that answers your question. It should, because that was a pretty concise explanation of what's actually happening there. Alan asks, I think, but am not sure, are you using some sidestepping on some chords? Any guides on when and how you play them? You can sidestep any place you like, Alan. Let's play an example. Let's delete that, put this sheet music back, go down to this part where I'm playing all of these syncopated triplet half notes. And let's see if we can find some places to sidestep. Haven't sidestepped there, that's just C minor. No sidestepping. Change the chord. So I didn't, but let's put some in. So that's sidestepping. So basically what you're doing, sidestepping typically means that you're moving in a half step or a whole step, but keeping the chord the same. Not keeping C minor the same, but keeping the actual structure of the chord the same. So for example, if we played this voicing for C minor 7, and we move up to the melody note, which is a whole note, we're going to sidestep to D minor. And then when we get down to this note, which is the D natural, we're going to sidestep to B flat major or even B7. What's the best one? It's a little trickier because it doesn't really match the chord at the moment. There's a good one. So basically, an E half diminished seventh chord. And you could do it anywhere here. This is sidestepping. Now the minor second sidestepping, that's a little bit different. Typically what you would do is you would pick and choose your battles for that and sidestep up quickly and then back. So for example, if we did it on the B flat major, on the B flat 7 chord, doesn't really work. Right, like that. So you have to add extra chords in. That's sidestepping. This is the melody. We did this. Okay. I think that's the best one of the bunch, actually. I tried to put it in all over the place. But like I say, Alan, you can pick wherever you want to do it. Fun stuff. All right, let me play the tune one more time. I'll come back and we'll give some parting words. While I do that, please check out the third page of your transcription. I'm going to put a link to the Blues Bossa with the coupon code. This is good till Sunday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. Let's throw that in the chat. There you go. There's the link to go check it out. If you're not going to purchase it, that's fine. I'm throwing it out there. It helps fund the channel, but at least go listen to it a couple of times, because it'll, from a blues perspective, adding blues to Blue Bossa, which was, by the way, the suggestion of our advanced people for last week. This week's idea for I Get a Kick just came from the musical that I saw the other day, but last week it was suggested by our members. So at least go check out the solo, and then you'll know whether you want to get it or not, or just pass it up. It's completely up to you. So there's the coupon code and the link in there. It's also on the third page of your downloaded transcription from today. If you haven't downloaded I Get a Kick Out of You yet, it's still pinned to the top of the chat. Let's shut the audio microphone off and let's play a little bit, and then we'll see where this goes. Jerry asks what my favorite voicing is for a 5/7 chord. I said that I was going to say that at the end of today, so the end reveal is one of my favorite 5/7 voicing chords. Here it is. Now, the reason for this is, and this is an A flat 7 sharp 11 chord. So A flat, G flat. So there's your shell voicing in the left hand, which denotes an A flat 7 chord. And then in the right hand, the melody is the sharp 11, and then you're playing B flat as a cluster. So B flat, C, and D, like this. And the reason why this is interesting is because if you start to do 2-5-1 progressions, it's a great way to get to the destination chord. There is a famous part of this tune that's it there. That's the voicing, right? So this is a voicing that is definitely usable in several situations, but it's my favorite because I like the cluster element of it and the fact that the sharp 11 is in the melody. All right, I hope that answers your question. Well, actually, I'm the one that proposed it, and that was my end reveal for the day. One more thing, download the sheet music. It's pinned to the top of the chat. Grab the URL at least and go to that page, give an email address, and you can download it and have some fun with it. I think that's it. It was fun hanging out with you today. I hope you enjoyed the music. It's definitely, we went a little bit over our time, about 10 minutes, but that's kind of normal around here. I also started maybe like a minute late because I had some technical issues. Thanks for hanging out once again. Next week, same time, same place, same channel, Jazz Mental. Tell your friends, and we'll have some good times in the weeks and months to come. Thanks so much for hanging out, and I will see you next time. And for all of those of you that shouted out to Nancy, I appreciate that. She's had a couple of rough days, spent the night at the hospital last night, but we're still going. I think we're still trending upward. It's just a couple of issues to work out. Anyway, thanks for your time, and we